So good evening and welcome everybody, and thanks so much for coming out this evening. Even though you probably didn't have to come out anywhere, you're probably sat at home relaxing watching this. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. One, this is not my background. This is not where I live. This is a virtual background. So I would love my house to look like this, but it doesn't. So just a bit of a heads up, that is purely because my house doesn't look as nice as this. So that's why I put that back up there. First and foremost, tonight we have our whole leadership team are with us, although you can only see myself, Megan, and Christine. We're going to be the main speakers for this evening, but the leadership team are all in the background and are going to be there if we have any questions that need answering from them. It's also important to note that our leadership team are going to be overseeing the pillars that we're going to be introducing tonight. So they're going to be, we have split ourselves into teams, and we will be overseeing those pillars as part of the strategic direction for the school. There are things, of course, you're not going to see in this plan, but that doesn't mean they're not happening. You need to, there's an echo at my end. Hang on, I'm just going to make sure that I can try and fix that. Okay, I've tried something there. I don't know if that's helpful or not. My co-presenters, you hearing an echo?
Nope.
No, okay. So
No.
okay, thanks guys. So in terms of what you won't see in the plan, there are things that we are working on as part of our day-to-day operations and what we call the bread and butter of the school that we're going to continue to work on and that we're going to be pushing forward. They may not be appearing in the strategic direction. It doesn't mean they're not important and not happening, but they're just things that we haven't included in this phase. And we're going to talk a little bit about phases in a minute. We also have our strategic plan laid out on our website. That is going to be updated shortly. And all the updates and all the changes and all the progress we made will be put onto our website so everyone can see how we're doing and where we're going with the plan. For the structure of tonight, myself, Christine, and Megan, Ms. Blackadar and Ms. Entignat will be presenting each of the pillars. I'm going to be doing the introduction and the overview. And if you have any questions you would like us to answer, please pop them into the Q&A at the bottom of this presentation, and we'll aim to answer them. I have a couple of questions already that have been sent to us that I'm going to answer. And there's also going to be a part of our website which will enable you to leave questions and we can get feedback to you from that. So this is really exciting for us as a school. It's super exciting when you get to launch a new strategic direction. It has been a little longer in the waiting than we would have liked. We had anticipated launching in September, but there were some other things that got in the way, some issues that we hadn't anticipated that took precedence in September. But as a school, we continue to work on those strategic directions in September, even though we hadn't launched the plan yet. So now we feel is a good time for us to share where we are at with you all. So if you can move on to the next slide, Jennifer. One of the big things that we did when we started this process way over a year ago now was asked ourselves the question, how do you develop a strategy for a future you can't always predict? And this was before COVID. So when COVID hit, we actually asked ourselves some really big questions about our strategic plan. Did we want to change some things fundamentally? Did we want to go in a different direction? But we actually felt we'd done a really good job of creating a strategy that was, whilst not necessarily future-proof, certainly enabled us to tackle any future that might come our way. So with that being said, what is the strategy? So for us, a strategy outlines a set of powerful and interrelated choices that we're planning and making in order to thrive. It's grounded in feedback and research, and it outlines where we will focus our collective energy based on what we believe our future context will be. Before moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the feedback and research. This was key to our work. We not only spoke to our community, the girls, the parents through the surveys, we spoke to our board at length and we got lots of strategic feedback from them, but we also went out across the world and we looked at high-performing schools all over the world to see what was going on in those places. And what was really interesting, we also went out to big business and we talked to them about what they wanted to see from girls who may be coming into those industries. And we got a lot of great feedback from businesses that our girls often go into and look at. And some of their feedback and ideas were key to how we move forward. One of the big things, though, that kept on coming out, and 98% of people in our survey said this and they constantly talk to, is quality of teaching. That was one of the main things that keeps on coming back, is that what you want from a school and what the girls want from the school is high quality teaching. And you'll see that coming up as we enter the plan. So what are the defining features of our new direction? The first one is that we wanted it to be unambiguous. It's actually a weird word to choose for something where we wanted to make it less complicated because it's a complicated word. But in terms of that, we moved away from looking at having a 5 or 6 pillar plan with multiple different tactics under it, because we felt that what we wanted was a plan that was something that was certainly ambitious, but what we really wanted was a plan that was achievable, something we can look back on and we can make progress on and we can get success. We want Elmwood to be the very best school in the world. And this plan is phase 1 to getting us there. So the point of it being clear and precise and unambiguous is really important to us. So the tactics for us are achievable, we can work on them, and then we can move on to the next tactic, which leads me on to this idea of an evergreen and phased plan. Many strategic plans are locked in at 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. And we looked at that structure in a very kind of detailed way. And we felt that we didn't want to be locked in to a plan for 5 years that was set in stone, that depending on what happens in the world was unchangeable almost. So what we felt we would like to do is move to a plan that we can change on a dime, that we can be nimble with. We have a long-term vision, but we wanted a plan that was phased. So our first phase is 18 months. And that's what we're going to be looking at tonight, is the first look at a move towards greater excellence than we have already. So this idea of evergreen is that the tactics and the planning you see is something that's changeable, something that if something in the world changes, if something, a new technology approaches a school or a new way of thinking, we can adapt and be nimble with our plan so we can respond to it and we can create the best possible school we can be. Essentially, I didn't want to plan as a school that was stuck for 5 years and we just refer to every now and again. This plan is something we want to refer to all the time. The next point was that it would be explicit. In that, I mean that any changes, any adaptations, any new thoughts will be communicated with you, with our community, with the girls, so everyone knows exactly the direction we're going in, the changes we're making, and the future we're creating. We want it to be very, very clear at all stages as we roll this out. Most importantly was accountability. We want to be held accountable as a school. You entrust us with your most valuable thing in your lives, which are your daughters. This plan is going to create a school that is better for your daughters. And as such, we want to be held accountable. So with that in mind, every 8 weeks, we're going to be giving updates, not only on our website, but through newsletters and through communication with you to let you know how we're doing, how we're progressing in each of the pillars and each of the tactics. And we feel that will give us a sense of, do we need to change anything? Is this the right thing? Are we moving in the right direction? Are we achieving excellence? Jennifer, can you just move us on? There are some things, though, that we felt really strongly shouldn't change. And that was our vision, our mission, and our values. These have been core to us, and never more than this year have they been more important. This year, we have lent heavily on our values. We really have, as a community, for respect, innovation, collaboration, responsibility, and integrity. They have kept Elmwood in a path which I believe has been, if not the best, one of the best schools through this past year, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with all the different challenges that the world has thrown at us. The girls we have in our school who have these values at their hearts have really risen to the occasion. So for us, the values are so important as a school, so we're going to keep those. Our mission to inspire each girl to reach her full potential, we all know it. We all talk about it. All the girls mention it in passing. It's something that is at our heart. So we didn't want to change that. And our vision, whole girl, whole world, is more important now than it ever has been. As we move forward into the world, with whatever we're going to face, with whatever is coming, this idea of whole girl and whole world is more important now than ever before. So now onto our new pillars. Our three pillars are our people. We want to become leaders in learning and teaching. Our outcomes, lifelong mentoring, excellent university preparation, and networks for life. And our future, creating the best future we can for our girls. I'm going to talk about pillar one, our people now, and then I'm going to hand over to Megan and Christine, who will roll through the last two pillars. So our people, leaders in learning and teaching. Essentially what this is that I'm a teacher still. The reason I'm still in the classroom is because I love this. And what I want as a teacher more than ever is to improve all the time. Why? Because the impact on the girls is incredible. If we have the very best teachers in the world that we can, the impact on your daughters is incredible. The relationship between students and teachers is what creates a school, is what creates excellence, is what creates a future for our girls. So essentially, this pillar is about us creating with our girls and with you as a community the very best teachers. We're going to be recognized as a center of excellence for learning and teaching. Our faculty are going to be challenged, supported, and held to the highest standards of teaching. They will all be practitioners of the very best and latest pedagogy and education, specifically all girls education. I want to clarify that. We want to be the best school. We are experts in all girls learning and teaching, but we want to be the best school, full stop. All girls education is what makes us unique. We are excellent in single gender teaching and learning, but we also want to be known as the best school. And I think we're on that journey already, and we really want to make sure we get there. Our learning environment will be equitable and inclusive, recognizing, respecting, and promoting all girls to encourage confidence, advocacy, communication, and collaboration. Our school will be recognized as the very best training environment for teachers, new teachers or experienced teachers. So how are we going to do this? And these are the tactics. Our first tactic will be to establish a teaching school. Now, a teaching school is going to become a placement center of excellence for trainee teachers and early childhood educators. We want to get the very best new teachers coming to Elmwood and learning the Elmwood way of teaching. Why do we want that? Well, trainee teachers and early childhood educators come with expertise. They come with research. They come with ideas from their universities. But we also want to mold them and shape them so we can, if they are to our standard, employ them for the future. They can become the next generation of Elmwood's teachers. To have that collaboration with these young teachers will infuse our excellent teachers already, but it will bring that sense of richness to our school. With that in mind, we want to develop and implement an Elmwood teacher training program, a signature program that Elmwood offers for teachers experience. They could be in their 10th year of teaching. If they come into our school, they will go through this program so they can learn the Elmwood way. They can learn what we value as the very best in teaching. They could be the first year teacher and they'll go through the same program. To support this, we want to train our internal instructional coaches to support and mentor teachers. It's no good just saying we want the best teachers. We actually need coaching skills as a faculty to support each other, to mentor each other, and to drive standards forwards. And what we really want to do is create formal partnerships with university education departments, and we're already doing that. Why? Well, they have the latest research, they have the latest ideas on pedagogy and what's best in classroom practice. And we're already talking to some universities all over the world. I spoke to someone in Australia recently. We've got some great universities in Canada that we're speaking and partnering with. But this connection with universities will really drive some of the stuff we can't do with research in the school because we don't have the time. What we want to do is take the expertise from those universities and put it into our school, into this teaching school that's going to create stronger teachers. So we also want to enhance our framework for excellence in learning and teaching. So this is how do we make sure our teachers are good and make them better. So we want to further develop our leading edge teacher evaluation framework with our faculty to co-construct it together to make sure that we understand what excellence is and how we get teachers to excellence. We want to develop instructional coaches as experts in observation and feedback. So observation is you go into a classroom, you watch a lesson, you watch the students and the teachers, and then at the end we give feedback to each other to see how we can improve and develop our practice. Something I'm really excited about is building and implementing a student feedback tool to maximize the teacher feedback. So the students giving kind but well-directed feedback to teachers on how they learn, areas that could help them and support them. And to be clear, this isn't done anywhere, particularly not in Canada. This idea of using student feedback to improve the teaching experience in the classroom is something that's new. And this tool that we're developing, we're hoping is going to be a tool that can change not only Elmwood, but we could share it further afield to make sure that students are the most important person in the classroom. So having their feedback is key to making improvements. And this has come a lot because of COVID and the experience online. We added this. We wanted to develop best in class online teaching tools and connected online courses. So actually developing fully integrated online courses, and we could trial these in the summer as a summer school program, but also have them as an offering to students who maybe can't come physically into Elmwood School. And connected to that is to making sure we actually have the best online teaching tools. So going through a process of looking about what's out there, trying things in our teaching school, working with other teachers to see if we have the best tools. So that is something we're excited about in terms of improving our teachers. And last in this pillar, and last for me, is we want to engage university experts to drive our standards. And this is different from what I talked about earlier. There are many, many leading university education centers who are doing research in pedagogy. And what we want to do is connect with those research projects that are relevant to what we need and what we want to do, and have them come into our school and have them work with our teachers and our girls to really drive excellence in our school in what we know is best. We've already, and I'm excited, we'll announce it shortly, partnered with somebody out of McGill who is going to be working with our school shortly on driving some standards in terms of what we consider to be at most needed in our school for pedagogy. So that is pillar one. I'm sure you've heard enough of my voice now. So I'm now going to hand over to Ms. Enticknap, who is going to talk us through our second pillar, our outcomes.
Thank you so much, James. So James has taken us through the first pillar being our people, and this pillar is focused on our outcomes. When we think about our outcomes, we're really focused on the outcomes for our students. And in this pillar, we're really focusing on providing support for those students, not just at the exit level where we're providing excellent university preparation, but we're actually talking about building networks for all girls from pre-kindergarten right through to graduation, but also beyond. So this is a really important pillar because it's going to embrace a pathway for all girls as we look at helping to prepare them for their needs and the outcomes that we hope for them, but also that they desire. We're looking at developing a model that's going to center around a unique mentoring experience for each student at all ages. We're looking to provide curated programming where students will receive support from a network of various people, including trained Elmwood students, alumni, families, business partners, and other connections. This pillar is really exciting. It's all about reaching out to networks and community, but making that really meaningful for the girls at all stages. This means that girls will have the opportunity to develop skills at key transition points in their education, where they are exploring passions, but also achieving goals. Some of them university goals, but some of them more immediate goals, depending on their age and stage. And all the while learning about what it means to develop a network as they build toward their goals and their careers. This is going to involve providing further work and real world learning opportunities. And through these opportunities, the students will be able to develop confidence as well as specialized skills that are going to enhance those lifelong connections. So this pillar is broken into two different areas of focus. So the first area of focus is where we are looking to identify and build those networks. So as I mentioned, we're talking about building these networks and this pathway right from the first start in pre-K and all the way through to graduation. Because we are an IB continuum school, we will be looking to use some key anchor points within our IB program where we will be having checkpoints and key transition points along the way. And this internal mentorship program is going to support all of the students as they build their own personal networks that will help them achieve their goals. As I mentioned, we're going to have signature real world learning opportunities at every grade. And within each of those opportunities, there will be that chance to develop those networks and those connections. Through this external mentorship program, we're going to be able to connect girls to different kinds of mentors, both within the business world, in the university world, and also people who can help coach them on future opportunities. Part of this will involve engaging our alumni and leveraging different platforms to allow for connections from current students to alumni, where mentors can help the mentorees and so on as each girl transitions on to the next phase. One really exciting thing that we're looking forward to leverage in this focus area is our involvement with Round Square. Round Square is a very prestigious program which Elmwood was designated several years ago, and we're going to really use this pillar to embrace our Round Square connections. Round Square is an international program where students can engage with other students and other adults and mentors from around the world. So this gives us an international forum where our Elmwood girls are going to be able to even further build those connections that we know are so important for their future success. The other area of focus in this pillar is the idea of increasing university opportunities for the students. So James talked about increasing the university networks and connections to build the excellence in our teaching and learning. And this is looking at increasing the opportunities that our girls have when they're looking at university pathways and options. We're looking at early identification of what their passion is going to be post high school. So beginning really early on to talk about how they're going to know and understand what it is that drives them, what it is that makes them want to seek out future opportunities. We're going to also look at the different options for international applications and the different things we need to prepare and involve for those opportunities for success. So things like SAT and other kinds of programs and scholarships. We're also going to have a focus on helping the girls to develop those real world skills, such as interviewing, applying for preparation for filling in a scholarship, filling in a university application, and giving them guidance and support both internally and through our external mentorship program so that they're receiving lots of feedback along the way. And it's not just something that they think about in their final years of high school. So these are the areas of focus for our middle pillar, our second pillar, which is our outcomes. I'm now pleased to hand over to talk about our third pillar to Ms. Christine Blackadar.
Thank you, Megan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Blackadar, and I'm deputy head of the junior school at Elmwood, and that involves pre-kindergarten all the way up to grade 5. I'm very excited to be working in this pillar for our new strategic plan. The pillar is called Our Future, and I came across an absolutely beautiful quote that really pertains to this pillar. The quote is, and it's unattributed, which is, I think, too bad. It says, "A school is 4 walls with the future inside." And I just love that quote because it really reminds you about what schools are all about, not just about the future of our children inside those schools, but also looking at the future that runs ahead as well. I do love this photograph though. Those 3 girls are in grade 1 now, and that photograph definitely holds the mischief inside as well that we have in our building. It's an absolutely delightful photograph. So as I mentioned, I'm very excited to be involved with this pillar, and we've got some great plans already about it. So in terms of defining the pillar, Elmwood will ensure that our girls will learn in an educational environment that supports respect, healthy minds and bodies, that is there for generations to come. So that accounts for our current girls as they're growing up at Elmwood, and then also future generations that we want to make sure that we're maintaining this philosophy in our building. Informed by best practices and the latest research, Elmwood will support the mental and physical health of our girls through wellness, active living, and sports programs. This has always been a characteristic of independent schools, but with the year that we've just been through, it is now more important than ever. We've done some work in both schools with developing their recess programs and activities activities, just because the kids have so much energy that they need to release at recess time. And we're really interested in doing further work that way and expanding our programs. We will also continue to work with diversity, equity, and inclusion, focusing right now, as James said, it's an 18-month program on learning and engagement. Learning and community spaces will encourage collaboration, creativity, and cutting-edge learning, whilst our environmental programs and practices will ensure we are responsible environmental stewards, mitigating our environmental impact as the school and also as individuals. All right, so in terms of, we've got our pillar, but we also have focuses under each pillar. So under this pillar, our first focus is to broaden our wellness and inclusion strategy. We will research and implement best practices for wellness, sport, and health in girls' education to support healthy minds and bodies. We will also adopt a school-wide approach to social emotional learning based on established tools. And part of the strategic plan, I'm very excited about it. I really love how it's structured and the fact that it is evergreen and that we've also made it simpler. But that's also given us time already to start thinking and researching some of these initiatives. And we've already found a really exciting program for social emotional learning that actually is very much like the IB. And it's one of the few that runs from pre-kindergarten all the way to grade 12. So a number of us are really excited about that. But again, we're seeking feedback from our community, and we have many community members that are from all over the world. So if you're aware of something that you really want us to know about, or something in a previous school that you thought worked really well, we would love to hear about it. And then also, as part of this focus area, we want to identify and embed our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy at all levels of the school, all the way down to junior school. And of course, this is an area, as you know, I've been at the school for a number of years, and this has changed so dramatically since I've been at the school, and it continues to be an area of focus, which makes a lot of sense. So a focus area is to build spaces to enhance the student experience. We will continue to create innovative learning spaces for our girls from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, starting with the completion of our STEAM spaces, and we'll be hearing more about that later. I'll give you an example. We've, of course, faced challenges in the whole school with COVID restrictions and keeping the girls cohorted and being really careful about sharing spaces. And I work with the House Council in grade 5, who are a absolutely delightful, high energy group of girls with lots of ideas. Some of them have been looking forward to House Council for 4 years, since they were really little. And we've had to change spaces 3 times in the school. The last space we ended up in last week was the multi-purpose room, which is now completely empty. And we got those famous wiggle stools out. So it was fascinating to me when I was working with the girls to see that change in energy from being in a different location. They spent the first couple of minutes wiggling, which was probably a really good expending of their energy. And then the focus was absolutely incredible. And we were, because of the big space and the whiteboards that are in the school, we were able to break down into mini groups very naturally. So those girls, they're very busy planning winter and were thoroughly engaged, but it was a really natural working environment. And I would also say it really mimics what they're going to be doing in middle and senior school and what they'll be doing in the work world as well. So our spaces are incredibly important. So we want to continue our work developing sport, dining, and collaborative learning spaces. One of the things I like to do with the difficulties of this pandemic is to keep learning from it and to occasionally grasp the interesting good moments. And we've had a really interesting experience in junior school, and I know middle senior has as well. We've ended up with our absolutely beautiful lunchroom being a teaching space. And it's quite remarkable to see this space that used to be used minimally during the day, all of a sudden be this incredible space. And I believe we have all of our girls, with exception of maybe one grade, sharing that space. We sanitize between cohorts, and it's worked really well. And they're surrounded by light on the main floor. It's absolutely glorious. And finally, we want to develop a moonshot thinking space for our girls and faculty. And again, going back to the House Council example, for our staff and for our students to be able to go to a special space and really be thinking about big, exciting ideas and to practice design thinking. I think it's incredible. And I would love to eventually have that as a shared space, because what it means is that our grade 5 girls can be possibly around some grade 8 girls or some grade 12 girls as they're transitioning, and can even see their ideas on a whiteboard. It's all very inspiring, and it connects back to earlier ideas in our strategic plan about mentoring. You can see how that would start to work within the school. And this is also a very interesting area of focus, which I'm really looking forward to working with. And we have a lot of people on staff where this is a passion. I also know we have a lot of students where this is a passion as well. So I'm really looking forward to unleashing all of that energy and seeing what we can do with it. So we want to better our environmental stewardship, conduct an environmental survey of the school to plan the reduction of our environmental footprint. Again, I've been looking at some online, and there's incredible surveys that you can do. We would love to have some help from our community in this area, because it's such an important area, and there's so much to learn and look at. It would be really nice if there are people who are interested who could assist with that. We would like to deepen and develop our internal education and leading edge environmental practices. We've already had some really great pieces, for instance, out of the grade 5, this is just one small example, but out of the grade 5 exhibition a couple of years ago, the girls were taking a look at juice boxes and straws. And this came out of some of the projects they did for exhibition, but then they applied it to the real world and met with our bistro staff and I believe the head at the time, and we moved to not have juice boxes as much anymore, and the straws were also eliminated. So it shows you what can change within the school, and we want to go even bigger, continue to do that, but go even bigger as well. And finally, again, this is another positive out of this year. We want to continue to broaden our use of outdoor learning spaces. This has been something that we've been doing all year at the school, no matter what the weather, and we have lots of ideas and are looking for ideas from the community in terms of how we can continue to grow those outdoor learning spaces and enhance them. So I believe that is everything from me for this pillar, and I'm now going to hand back to James Whitehouse.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you, Megan, for those overviews. As you can tell, we're very excited about this. And just to be clear again, so this is a phased approach. So while our pillars will stay, the tactics within them, the idea is that we make progress, we achieve them, and then we can add new ones and move and develop and move forward. So it's not going to be waiting for 5 years or 7 years to move to the next stage. We want to keep developing and keep pushing our frameworks. So thank you so much to Megan and Christine. Now it's time to take some questions. We've heard some already, so I don't see many in the Q&A right now coming up, but I've got a couple. First of all, I'm actually going to put Matt Perot on the spot, our Director of Technology. So the first question I had was, Elmwood's done such a good job supporting girls with online learning over the past 12 months. Does the strategic plan contemplate that going forward? And it is in Pillar 1, but I wonder if Matt would like to talk a little bit more about that, if we can promote him. I don't know if we should promote him, but Matt, can we get you up here? There he is. Mr. Pro, over to you. Did you hear the question?
How are you? I'm glad you gave me a promotion. I think it's being recorded. Well, that's a great question. First, I want to say thanks. It's been a learning curve for everyone, teachers and students, and I'm really proud of our teachers and of our students as we've sort of learned through our online learning together in our new world. And of course, technology is going to be an important part of our strategy as we move forward as well. And online learning and technology looks different at every level, of course. And you know, for example, with our youngest learners, learning about the technology is as important as what you do with it in those early days. And it'll be a key tool to everything in our strategic plan moving forward. So, for example, you know, we're always doing research to find best practices and implement them and pilot things and give feedback on how well things are working, both from students and teachers. And in addition to that, we'll be trying out some online courses this summer with our students and piloting those and seeing how they go. And of course, any of the systems that we've been talking about tonight, ways of working with our teachers to improve. We can track all that and use it to give meaningful feedback to our teachers, and use it as a meaningful way of our students giving feedback as well. So I'm really excited about all the different ways that we can fuse technology into what we're doing as part of this strategic plan.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so there's a few questions that have popped up into the chat. I'm going to deal with the shorter answer first, and I'm going to come back to John's question second. So the first one, is there a long-term plan for physical improvements to the school, like upcoming renovations? Yes, there are. Firstly, we are going to be completing our chemistry lab renovation, which is in the middle senior school. And we're also planning a STEAM renovation in the junior school to create a space for our youngest students to also have access to science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. So it's there are two areas that we're going to be working on in the near future. And then in the long-term future, we're looking at creating spaces that can help the students in collaboration, but also in health and wellness. The question I'm seeing from John is a few different questions linked in it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, I did mention consulting industry. Yeah, we did. We talked to business leaders about what they're looking for in terms of students as they come out of universities into the workforce. So they gave some really good examples in terms of leadership skills, collaboration skills, the type of people they want to see, the type of skills that they want those girls to have. So that's going to be linked directly back into some of the programming we give our girls in terms of mentoring and helping them with interview preparation, but also how those girls are trained to dealing with what it's like to be in business. Most of the businesses said it's more about the person when they get them into their workforce, and how they can be critical thinkers and how they can adapt, rather than just being really strong academics, which they'd want, and they see that as a thing that they would expect anyway. But it was really interesting to get their feedback. That kind of approach is definitely new to us in terms of getting that kind of feedback. I see you said sport is called out a few times, and is that overstating what we're not doing anything with the arts? The arts is so important to our school. Our theatre program, our music program, and our fine arts program is such a strong part of our school, as is sports. But we really do feel that right now, in terms of wellness and well-being, we need those artistic areas, so the arts and drama and theatre and music, but we also need to make sure our girls have that physical, the ability to go out and play sports and create a more robust option from pre-K all the way up to our grade 12s. We really do have a good program, but we want to make it more robust and more skill-based as it develops over the years. So I hope that helps answer that question. I know that we are approaching time, but on the panel, are there any other questions that people can see that I can't see?
James, I don't see any other questions. It's Megan talking.
Yeah.
I think you've addressed the two that are in the Q&A. And John Tadman had a great question about what is new. So I think that helps to kind of answer the point about not that we're not thinking about the arts, but we've actually in the past spent a lot of time focusing on building the arts program. And so it kind of actually, John, your question almost dovetails there, because in terms of what is new is that in a way we feel that at this point in time, we're looking at putting a bit more emphasis on that wellness, well-being, and that connection to physical and mental well-being. But definitely not ignoring all the excellent work that we've done in the field of the arts, which will of course continue. So I think that your question ties in well there together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. That's great. I hadn't seen that level of question. Okay, so next steps. The first next step is that on our website, on our webpage, we have a strategic plan page, which can be found under the About Elmwood tab. Right now, as of this second, it is not fully populated. We have the pillars outlined there, but what we will be doing is then building out like for each of the different pillars and the tactics, a kind of a progress page so we can see and you can see the progress we're making. But we also will have a provide feedback and comments, suggestions and ideas section. So you can actually, if you want to go away, think about what you've heard tonight and have any more questions, you can leave those questions for us and we'll get back to you. As I promised, we want to be accountable. So please stay tuned for future information. We have a next update planned in 8 weeks, which will be on the website, and you can see some of the exciting work we've already been doing. We're really excited about this because we've already got a ton of stuff that we've been doing aligned to our plan that we want to tell you about. So I see there are no more questions. So all that leaves me to say is thank you. You are our community, and as a community, we can get better together and stronger together. So your feedback, your support, and your ideas help us. I also want to thank you for coming out tonight. It means a great deal to us that you've taken time in your evening to come and listen about the future of our school. Elmwood is an incredible school and it's an incredible community. This plan is aiming to make that even stronger. And so I thank you for everything you do for us. And I thank you for your trust in us, in your daughters. All that is left to be said is have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I look forward to hearing from you all and seeing you all in person at some point, whenever that can happen. Take care, everyone, and good evening.